Wait, and it's a boy.
Legacy. An in-depth look at the controversial Ibadan Circular Road Project in Ibadan, Oyo State. On one hand, it is pitched, and of course, as a once-in-a-generation infrastructural legacy. On the other, for many affected residents, it's a looming threat to land ownership, homes, and community heritage. In the next segment, we'll explore how it all began, who stands to gain, who stands to lose, and why protesters from across all 11 local governments have poured into the streets in recent days. The idea of the Ibadan Circular Road dates back to the early 2000s under the administration of Lam Adesina, governor between 2003 and 2007. An interministerial committee was constituted in 2002 to consider a bypass road around Ibadan. So when Rashidi Ladoja, the now Olubad of Ibadan, took office in 2005, his government awarded the contract survey and engineering design for the 110-kilometer route. However, progress stalled. The subsequent administration of late former governor Adebayo Alao-Akala cancelled the contract and diverted focus to other projects. Then in 2017, the late former governor Ajimobi flagged off the first phase, a 32-kilometer stretch under a public-private partnership (PPP) model. Fast forward to the current administration under His Excellency Engineer Seyi Makinde. In July 2021, the state approved a new contract for full 110-kilometer project with a new concessionaire, Selvidra Consortium, at a cost of 138.2 billion naira at the time. The project is now described as a build, operate, transfer toll road aimed to encircling Ibadan, easing traffic, opening up new economic corridors, and reshaping land use. Yet, behind this promise of a legacy lie growing complaints. Residents along the corridor claim inadequate compensation, fear forced eviction, and protest what they say is an expanding land acquisition zone beyond what was initially negotiated. In recent days, when they have mobilized in mass, demonstrations across the affected local governments. In short, the circular road is no longer just a road. It has become a flashpoint for questions of land rights, state planning fairness, development versus displacement, and the legacy a government will leave behind. Thank you for joining us on this show this morning. Samson Balogo is my name. I'm joined in the studio this morning by a senior editor with the Nigerian Tribune, Sam Nwoko. Thank you for joining me in the studio.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good morning, viewers.
We have a lot to unpack on that show. Yesterday, you saw videos of residents of Ibadan across all 11 local governments in their numbers on the Ibadan streets, protesting what they term as injustice, what some term as fear of potential loss of their homes, and of course, some we call it source of livelihood. The governor hasn't said a thing. But don't forget, this is not the first time this protest is coming to place. A few months ago, it happened. They came to the secretariat in Agodi, in Ibadan. The governor came out eventually after some days. He spoke with them. But it seems that after that, a lot has happened. And the people are out there again. What would be your holistic overview of what is currently going on the corridors in Ibadan?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. My holistic overview of what is going on is that first, we don't seem to understand the motive of the government. And then secondly, the government doesn't seem to understand the plight of the people.
Right.
So there are two sides to this coin. Now, the government at some point said, okay, we are no longer going to do demolition 150 meters, 250 meters, and so on and so forth. You know, the shoulder, two sides of the road, and so on, no demolitions and so on. And now, the thing came up again, And it has become a lingering controversy, a lingering issue, a pain in the neck of the people, and a kind of a snag on the race, a hurdle in the face of the government that is racing towards infrastructural development. So my overview is that there should be a better way of explaining what the government's intentions are to the people affected, and also find a way to tell the people that, look, this is for your own good, and here is adequate compensation. So for me, there has to be a midway, there has to be a convergence, there has to be a point where both the government and the affected people are going to sit down and say, okay, we agree and we let it go.
Do you think the government, from the governance perspective, do you think the Oyo State government has been transparent enough when it comes to how this project has been handled, and how the people of Ibadan who live on these corridors, who have houses, who have structures on these corridors, on how they have been treated so far?
You see, that question is to a large extent one subjective point towards it. If we look back to this road and think that it had been long in coming since 2001, 2002, during the administration of Lam Adesina, perhaps I would say that the governments from that time have not been very clear in their intention. However, you know, Lam, Ladoja, Ajimobi, now Seyi Makinde. Seyi Makinde said, look, I want to build a road that will be like a freeway, the types you see in America and so on and so forth. You know, very large roads, larger than some of the things you see, perhaps compared to some of those we see in Abuja. And but the people are saying, look, this is our source of livelihood. Do not claim our land, or by that, do not claim our sources of livelihood with the road. So if it is good intention for the government and not too good intention for the affected people, then there has to be a midway. Something has to be done, you know. But in terms of how the government has handled it, I think they have explained and explained and explained, and the people have said, no, your explanation does not
Hold water.
Yeah, it does not meet our own expectations. And so because of that, it is a problem for them, and it's also a problem for the people. Unfortunately, this is happening at a time when we know how hard hit Nigerians are, especially those of us on the lower cadre of the economy. So I think the government needs to do more, a little bit, at least a little bit more, to be able to say, hey, people, come. This is what we want to do. And it has got to a level of take it or leave it situation. And the people are refusing to take that. So I think there has to be, something has to thaw the ice. Something has to break the deadlock. And I think it's in the hands of the government.
Well, when it comes, you have mentioned over and over again, you have mentioned compensation. Do people on the corridors, do they deserve to be compensated? That is one. Two, there has been compensation in some places according to what we have heard. And what we had, and the insinuations flying around is that some were compensated for as low as 140,000 naira. Someone who had an existing structure in that place that was demolished. Do you think that was right or good enough?
Well, you know, excuse me, the government valuation system is not our own valuation system, but 240,000 naira is way too small for someone to research. It is way too small. And then, again, you know, I was discussing urban slums with a few friends the other day, and part of the things I was trying to point out is that when we buy land, then we acquire a piece of land to build. We just go ahead, agree with the families that own the land, the seller, and then we begin to build. A lot of processes are not...
Should have been done.
You know, so when these things are not done, then it becomes, we will be at the mercy of the government to say, okay, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of sympathy, take and leave this place. And to a large extent, we are still living with that. If you go to parts of Ibadan, you see that if you see Ibadan from the air, you will see that everywhere is more like urban slum. And why? It's because there is no planning on the part of the government, so approvals are just given for those who seek approvals. Whereas everybody builds, in most cases, without approvals. I saw something in Akpete one day. Somebody wanted to drive in. He went out in the morning. By the time he came in the evening, his driveway had been cordoned off with a fence. And the man said, I was expecting this man to do his fence through the other side. And he never did. I said, okay, is this not an approved road? He said, who approved him? So that is an internal problem for them in that place. If the government steps in and say, okay, we have acquired this place, and upon acquisition, who has the right papers, who has the right approvals? If you don't present those things, it won't be in the hands of the government to say, okay, here, take money, even though you don't have approval. So at that time, government will not give you what you merit. It will be, they won't give you what you deserve. It will be what they feel like giving you. So that may be the reason for the 240,000 naira, which for me is way, way, way too small. But again, at the risk of sounding like a government representative, the government itself should also call and complain on how much space they want to take for that road. Because one of the things I learned is that the corridors, by the corridor of that road, the extension of the pillars, from the look of things, when we are done with this hula balu, when we are done with these problems now, and the construction starts, some meters on both sides of the road will remain as bush or forest or whatever. And when it remains like that, some people will still come and be selling that until government rises one day and say, this land you are building on belongs to us, so move. And that time, we begin another round of this kind of problem. So there should be proper education, there should be proper planning, there should be proper information to the people who are in such situations.
So some have accused the governor of land selling. Some use the particular word which I really don't want to use.
Yes, land grabbing.
Land grabbing.
Yes.
But then, if we juxtapose this with what we have had in the past and what is currently going on, let's start for an instance. There's a particular estate at Agodi Gardens which was sold under administration. They call it Baywood Estate. It was a government property, government allocated area before now. That aside, the Trans Amusement Park, also a government property, which is where we can call the open space where average Ibadan people can actually go to and say, oh, we want to relax, belonging to the government. It has been sold. It is now an estate named after a deceased politician in Oyo State. Now we are talking about the corridors. People are now complaining. They are linking all these three. They are just saying, oh, these are the ones we know. How about places we don't know? They are linking all these three together and saying, look, is the governor here to take our sources of livelihood away from us?
Well, you didn't remember Lady Adegun
Estate. That's
in
right beside
BCOS. That also caused a lot of hula balu, and so on and so forth. There is one interesting thing about government, not governance now. When Governor Seyi Makinde came in, he spoke about land acquisition, illegal land acquisition here and there, and alleged that the previous administration did a lot of that. And he revoked so very many of them. Now, in another 2 years at most, he will be out of office as governor. When the next government comes, I'm sure the drums, Iluma change. There is going to be a difference in how things are handled. And that is governance for you. And that is government for you. So when the next government comes, governance is going to change. And then if all these lands, the Lady Adigun, the Trans Amusement Park, the Agodi Gardens, that's Baywood, and the whole lot of the other. There's one at Yagoku, just by the railway on the road. Tracks, So all those ones, by the time the next administration comes, you'll begin to hear stories behind some of these things. All I'm trying to say is that if indeed these things are not properly acquired, the agitations should continue. The people who, raise, even you have the right to go to court and say, okay, here is our complaint. But for me, the corridor is way too wide. The number of meters that the government has used as a setback for me personally, I think it is way too wide. And as things stand today, it is government's prerogative to use land the way it deems fit for the common good of the people and so on and so forth. But if you are going to use that amount of land, then perhaps we should know what you want to do with it and how it's going to be allocated and how it's going to be distributed for the common good of the people. So the agitations, I mean, it's only normal, it's natural, it's proper for people to protest. But at the same time, it is proper for the government to explain to the protesters and the protesters that here is what we want to do and this is why we want to do it. If it doesn't go down well with them, the protesters can go to court. The people affected can go to court. While the government is working on it, in another 2 years, there will be another government who may listen to these people. So that's the way I look at it. It's not, if you grab land, quote and unquote, as some people have been insinuating, the another government will come and say, okay, you didn't take this one properly. Let's go and do the proper things. There is a place in Agodi Gate Market, and so on, a whole lot of places like that. So it's for the government to take its own action. Then it's for the people to also say, no, you have not taken the right steps in this place. So they can go to court, they can do a few other things. But I know that one of the things about it is it's about time. You know, the state government is also in dispute with the federal government over some pieces of land they allocated to, is it Radio Nigeria?
Right.
You know, the Federal Ministry of Information. So all those things are there, and they are going to be, not everything will be resolved by this administration. You know, so for me, that's the way I look at it.
Now, let's speak to this very quickly. Some are saying what this administration blamed and complained about the last administration, they're already doing. Now, is it safe to say that it was only a campaign gimmick at the time and not necessarily in the interest of the Oyo State people?
Well, like I said earlier, government is a continuum. Now we are hearing a lot of things in terms of land acquisition and land grabbing, quote and unquote. By the time campaigns start, we are going to hear more things.
Let me add this very quickly.
Yes.
The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu,
yes,
was said to have gone there, give them 25 million naira, and promised to return, and most definitely take their matter to the presidency.
Okay, very good. So it means that the politics of this land issue has started. And, you know, next year will be 2026. And by 2026, we are looking at 2027 when the administration will wind down. Like I said, when Seyi Makinde came, one of the things he complained about and one of the revocations he did, I remember very well, was a piece of land in the GRA, is it in Shaki, somewhere in Okeogun. He said it's a large expanse of land. Somebody else will come, look at the things you yourself have done, and they will say, no, you didn't do this right. You didn't do this correctly. Go back. Government, you know, the House of Assembly is there, the courts are there, and so on. So, if it is politics or not, it will soon unfold. It will soon unfold. All of us will see it. And those who are interested in what really has happened, it is the same Nigerians that are the same people of Oyo State that are in the state government. They are the ones signing the papers. They are the ones making the drawing making the survey, drawing the plans, drawing the setting the embankments and so on and so forth. They are the same people who will say no, we didn't do this right. We did this out of compulsion. We didn't do this according to the law and so on. So it is the same people. And when the time comes, whoever did not do right or whoever did wrong will be exposed, and then it continues.
Okay, very quickly before we go, there is this particular question that popped in a few minutes ago. They say supporters of the project say it will open up Ibadan's economy. They say it reduces congestion and attracts investors. How realistic are these expectations, and at what expense?
To a large extent, yes. Honestly, it is, because roads open up communities, road open up states, in fact, road is perhaps one of the most important.
I could remember when the Akala Express was constructed
I
at the time.
have a personal experience. One of my friends would come to church and he won't want to go home after service. He will be like, he said, I have food in my, let's sit together. So one day I had to ask him, why would you always want to stay back after church? He said, I live somewhere inside Oluyole, and that he feels lonely on Sundays when he goes home and so on. I say, so he said he sometimes gets tired of being home alone, so he wants his friends around and so on. I said, okay. Where is this? He tried to mention the place, Agara or something. He was just trying to describe the place. I couldn't get it. I think a year or two after, the Akala Road was open. Boom. This place became what it is. And this man who had wanted to sell part of his property there said, I no sell again. It's now very expensive. So that's one of the impacts of this current ring road where we are, this MKO Abiola way, this current ring road. A priest, his name is Father Finton Daly, he once told me, he said he was in this town as a priest, a young priest, when the road was being constructed. He said the whole place was such a large forest. And they have their house at Challenge, SMA house. Is there in Challenge, St. Leo. You know, he was living there then. He said, so coming to town meant going to Makbo, because he has to file government papers and so on and so forth. He said, but this part of town was bush. People will come to farm, to do other things and so on and go. So he was expressing joy that the whole place had developed and so on. So those of us who did not grow up seeing the ring road the way it was before it was built, will not understand what agitations, what agitations might have taken place, what court cases might have taken place, what people might have fought themselves to, you know, and so on. So I believe strongly that when a road is made, it opens up a place. Even businesses would spring up, a whole lot of ideas will come, and so on and so forth. So that I accept. However, it has to also come with human face. There's no way you are going to build a road that won't take a lot of land. You will displace a whole lot of things. And you scatter table, you know, we shatter table here in Nigeria a lot. So it's going to happen. But that the road will open up Ibadan, I agree. See what people go through now. Sometimes if the road had been opened, those who are coming from Ife, Ekiti, Osun and so on, would not even need to come to Iwo Road and get stuck in traffic as they do sometimes. They will fly through the ring road and find themselves wherever they are going to. They are going to Lagos and so on and so forth. So for me, I agree that the road is worth it. It's long. In fact, the Lam Adesina administration that conceived it was a popular administration. Because I was already in the university when he was voted in, and he was a very popular governor. He came as prisoner of war, because that's what Colonel Ahmed Usman described him as. He said so when he was presented by the Alliance for Democracy as governorship candidate, it just caught fire. And so for him to have conceived it, it meant that it was a popular opinion for the road to be done. We needed a second ring road. Then, when Ajimobi administration came, it also saw the need for this road and started work on it. Seyi Makinde came and consummated it, you know, and expanded it and so on and so forth. And he is an engineer. He might have seen some things we didn't see. If you place the map of Oyo State on the table, he will tell you this is how the road has gone, and this is how it's going to affect some of the products that are expected to be coming out of Okeogun area to Lagos and other ports, and perhaps to Ibadan Airport, which is going international, and so on and so forth. So a whole lot of things are, you know, surround this matter beyond the fact that people are displaced. And those who are displaced, for me, the government should compensate them adequately and create the right environment for this road to
very
thrive.
quickly before we go, Samuoko, in 30 seconds, what would you say to the Oyo State government and the protesters this morning? I
think they have to sit down. And when they sit down together, the Oyo State government should come clean and tell them in plain language what their plans are. If it means that you have taken 50 meters on both sides or more, or whatever,
clear with it.
Be clear with it. Let the people know. Explain to them and tell them seek their own demands. What do they want? If what they want is okay with the government, reach an agreement with them. If what they want is not okay with the government, then tell them that this is what you can do for them, so that this will have to stop. Now it has involved the 11 local governments in Ibadan, because we are all interwoven. If you live on the ring road and I live at Yagonku, there has to be a way to get to one another. So now that it has involved everybody, they have to find a way to quell the agitation and let this road be a useful tool for the further development of Oyo State.
All right, thanks, Sam Owoko, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you.
It has been an eye-opening session with you.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you next time on this show. Now, as we wrap up today's segment, we leave you with this thought. The Ibadan Circular Road has all the hallmarks of transformative infrastructure, visionary in scope, ambitious in financing, poised to reshape Ibadan's urban and peri-urban landscape. But infrastructure is only as just as the process behind it. If lands are taken without fair compensation, if homes are uprooted without community consent, then what may have been a legacy becomes a liability. In the coming days, we will continue to follow the story, the voices of the protesters from all 11 local governments of Ibadan land, and responses of government, the legal and human rights angles, and of course, what this means for the future of the development of Oyo State. Thank you for joining us on the big story this morning on Daybreak Live. Samson Balogun is my name. Stay with us. There is more to come on. And of course, Trend Watch is up next. We'll be back after this time out.